Welcome, friends, to our magical 30-day challenge. We are bringing you a new story every single day.
Like and subscribe to help us reach our 100,000 subscriber goal together. Once upon a time, in a vast kingdom of white towers, a king and queen lived in deep sadness. They possessed every treasure a kingdom could offer, yet they had no child to hold in their loving arms. Every single night, the queen stood by her tall, arched window and wept softly into the dark, lonely night. She looked up at the endless stars, searching desperately for an answer to her quiet and hopeful prayers. She clasped her hands together and whispered to the bright moon, "Please, send us a miracle tonight." Suddenly, a brilliant shooting star streaked across the sky, leaving a long, sparkling trail of magical glitter. It crashed gently into the center of the royal rose garden, surrounded by a soft, glowing blue light. The king and queen ran quickly into the garden, their faces full of fear and burning curiosity. In the center of the stardust crater, a beautiful baby lay sleeping on a bed of crushed red roses. Her skin was as pale as the moonlight, and when she opened her eyes, they were wide and silver. They named her Ilara and loved her instantly, bringing her into the warmth of the castle nursery. But as the sun began to rise over the mountains the next morning, a strange magic took hold. A bright beam of morning sunlight crept across the floor and touched the golden bars of the baby's crib. The first ray of sunlight hit the soft blanket, and something terrible began to happen to the child. Instantly, Ilara's soft pink skin turned hard and cold, transforming into a surface of sparkling white marble. Her breathing stopped completely, and the nursery fell into a terrifying and absolute silence. She had turned into a statue of cold white marble, frozen in the middle of her peaceful sleep. The queen screamed in terror, dropping the silver rattle she had been holding onto the wooden floor. They immediately summoned the oldest and wisest wizard in the land to explain this dark and sudden mystery. The wizard leaned over the crib and examined the stone baby closely with his golden monocle. He looked at the parents and said gravely,
"She is a child of the stars, not the earth. The sun is her enemy, and she can only truly live when the world sleeps at night."
Years passed, and the stone girl in the garden grew into a beautiful young woman made of marble. During the day, the castle courtyard was full of life, with children playing and guards laughing in the sun. But in the quiet garden, Princess Ilara stood frozen in time, unable to move or speak to anyone. She was a statue of breathtaking beauty, carved with such detail that she looked ready to breathe. Colorful birds would land on her stone shoulders to sing their happy morning songs to her. But she stood perfectly still, unable to feel the soft touch of their feathers against her cold skin. The bright yellow sun beat down from the blue sky, warming the surface of her stone face. Yet inside, she remained cold and unfeeling, trapped in her endless silent sleep while the world moved on. The king visited her every single day at noon, his heart heavy with love and deep sorrow. He gently placed a fresh red rose into her cold, open stone hand as a daily gift of love. He wiped a tear from his eye, wishing he could see her smile just once in the daylight. He whispered, "Sleep well, my daughter," before turning to walk back to the lonely castle. Finally, the sun began to set behind the purple mountains, signaling the end of the long day. The sky turned from bright orange to a deep, magical violet as the first stars appeared above. The last ray of sunlight vanished from the garden, leaving it bathed in cool blue twilight. Slowly, a soft white light began to pulse from deep within the marble statue of the princess. Color returned to her pale cheeks, and the hard stone softened into warm, living skin. Her rigid stone dress rippled like water and turned into flowing silk of the deepest midnight blue. Ilara gasped, drawing a deep breath of cool night air into her lungs for the first time that night. She stepped gracefully off her pedestal, stretching her arms and enjoying the freedom of movement. She looked down at the red rose in her hand, smiling sadly at her father's gift.
A symbol of his enduring love.
The garden was silent and empty, lit only by the silver glow of the moon and stars. She walked through the massive castle doors, her silk dress trailing behind her on the stone floor. She passed a guard who was fast asleep against the wall, snoring softly in the quiet hall. She tiptoed past him with a gentle smile, careful not to wake him from his dreams. In the royal kitchen, she found a plate of dinner left out for her on the table. She ate alone in the vast dining hall, the only sound being the clinking of her silver fork. Feeling lonely, she went to the library to read books about the world she could never see. She opened a large book and traced her finger over a bright painting of a yellow sunflower. "I wonder what yellow looks like," she whispered to the empty room, her voice full of longing. She went to the ballroom and danced a waltz with her own shadow cast by the moonlight. She spun in circles, pretending she was dancing with a handsome prince who could tell her stories. But when the music stopped, she was still alone in the middle of the empty, silent floor. She walked back to the garden and sat on a bench, looking up at the distant moon.
Is there anyone else awake?
She asked the stars, but only the wind answered her question. The eastern horizon began to turn a dull gray, warning her that the sun was coming soon. With a heavy heart, she climbed back onto her pedestal and posed exactly as she had been before. As the first ray of dawn touched her, she turned back into cold white stone once again. Far away, in a kingdom of eternal summer, lived a brave and adventurous prince named Kale. He was known for his courage and his warm smile that was as bright as the sun itself. One day, an old traveler told him the sad legend of the stone princess in the north.
You must travel north, young prince. Beyond these jagged peaks lies the forgotten kingdom. She is the most beautiful woman in the world, but she is cursed to sleep forever.
Kale felt a pull in his heart and decided immediately that he must find this mysterious princess. He rode his white horse across mountains and valleys, traveling for many days to reach her kingdom. Finally, he arrived at the White Castle just as the noon sun was high in the sky. He walked into the royal garden and stopped in his tracks when he saw the statue. She was more beautiful than the stories had said, standing peaceful and still among the red roses. He stepped closer and noticed the sadness that was carved into her cold marble eyes. A servant warned him,
She only wakes at night, Prince. You are wasting your time waiting here.
but Kale sat on a stone bench and said
I will
stubbornly,
wait for her as long as it takes.
The hours ticked by slowly as the sun moved across the sky and shadows grew longer. Kale watched the sunset, marveling as the sky turned from gold to a deep starry purple. The moon rose high, casting a silver spotlight on the beautiful statue in the center of the garden. Suddenly, magical sparkles began to dance in the air, swirling around the silent stone figure. Kale watched with wide eyes as the marble skin softened and turned into living flesh. The princess took a deep breath and opened her silver eyes, looking directly at him in surprise. Ilara gasped and took a step back, shocked to see a stranger sitting in her lonely garden. Kale stood up quickly and bowed low, his red cape sweeping the ground in a respectful greeting.
Do not be afraid. I am Prince Kael, and I have waited all day for you.
Ilara stared at him, her heart beating fast. You are awake? She asked in a whisper.
Awake?
Kale smiled warmly.
I wanted to meet the girl behind the stone,
He replied with honesty. A shy smile spread across her face, lighting up the darkness of the garden like a star. They walked side by side through the flowers, the blue moonlight illuminating their path. Kale told her amazing stories about the daylight world that she had never been able to see.
Beyond these walls, Ilara, there is whole world. Floating islands and rivers of light protected by ancient dragons.
He described the heat of the sun on his face and the sound of a busy market.
It's a warmth that spreads across your skin, like 1,000 gentle kisses from a blazing hearth.
He used his hands to describe the bright yellow color of fresh lemons and the green of grass. Ilara listened to every word, imagining the vibrant colors in her mind like a beautiful painting. It sounds wonderful, she said wistfully,
It sounds wonderful.
looking at his warm hazel eyes with admiration. Night after night, Kale returned to the garden to spend the dark hours with her. They sat on the bench and talked about everything, from their favorite books to their deepest dreams. They fell deeply in love, their hearts connecting under the quiet safety of the starry sky. But their time together was always short, cut off by the inevitable rising of the morning sun. As the horizon turned gray, Ilara would panic. "You must go.
You must
The sun
go."
is coming," she cried.
The sun is coming!
Kale would hold her hand tightly.
I don't care.
"I don't care," he promised. "I won't leave you."
I won't leave you.
But as the first ray of dawn broke, he felt her hand turn cold and hard in his. He watched helplessly as the stone took over, freezing her beautiful face into a mask of marble. He was left standing alone in the bright morning, holding the cold hand of a statue. His heart broke every single morning, seeing the woman he loved trapped in her silent prison. Determined to save her, Kale went to the royal library to search for a way to break the curse. He spent days reading through piles of ancient, dusty scrolls, looking for any clue about the stars. Finally, he found a faded prophecy with a drawing of a shooting star and a baby. He read the riddle aloud. "To walk in the sun, one must be shadowed by true love."
To walk in the sun, one must be shadowed by true love.
Kale frowned in confusion. "Shadowed by love?" he whispered. "What does that mean?"
Shadowed by love? What does that mean?
He ran to the old wizard's tower and showed him the scroll, asking for his wisdom. The wizard smiled knowingly.
It means you must protect her from the curse with your own darkness.
But the sun is too big. I cannot block the sun from the whole world.
The wizard placed a hand on his shoulder.
You don't need to block the world, only her.
Kale understood. He nodded firmly, grabbed his red cape, and ran back to the garden to wait. That evening, when Alara woke up, Kale grabbed her shoulders with a look of fierce determination.
I have a plan.
He told her urgently.
Tomorrow, do not run to the Dark Tower. Stay here with me in the garden. Trust me, Alara. We can break this.
Alara looked terrified, shaking her head.
I will be trapped as stone forever if the sun touches me!
Kale looked deep into her silver eyes. I will not let the sun touch you, I promise. Alara trusted him more than her fear. She nodded slowly, agreeing to his dangerous plan. The night passed too quickly, and soon the eastern sky began to glow with a threatening gray light. The birds began to sing their morning songs, unaware of the danger building in the garden below. Alara trembled in her blue dress. "It is time," she whispered, tears forming in her eyes. Kale stepped firmly in front of her, planting his feet wide to create a sturdy barrier. He gritted his teeth and cast a long, dark shadow over Alara to keep her safe. Protected in the cool blue safety of his shadow, the light could not touch her skin. Alara looked at her hands in amazement. They were still pink and soft. "I am still awake," she cried. But the sun was rising higher and higher in the sky, changing the angle of the light. Kale's shadow on the grass began to shrink, pulling back towards his feet as the sun climbed. A beam of burning sunlight cut across the air, inches from Alara's nose. She gasped in fear. Kale realized the shadow wasn't enough. He stepped closer and pulled her into a desperate hug. He whipped his heavy red velvet cape around her, covering her completely in a warm, dark cocoon. He hunched over her, shielding her with his entire body as the noon sun beat down on his back. He held her tight, pouring all his love and protection into that single, powerful embrace. Suddenly, a warm golden light began to radiate from the cape, pushing back the harsh white sun. It was not the sun's light, but the magic of true love breaking the ancient curse. The air shimmered with magic as the curse shattered like glass, dissolving into the morning wind. The magical light faded, leaving them standing in the crisp, natural daylight of a beautiful morning. Kale slowly pulled back from the hug, breathing hard, afraid to look at her face. Alara stood with her eyes squeezed shut, her shoulders hunched, waiting for the cold stone to take her. But instead of cold, she felt a gentle warmth spreading across her skin like a soft blanket. She felt a breeze ruffle her hair, and she opened one silver eye, then the other. She gasped as the world became overwhelmingly bright and filled with the most vibrant colors she had ever seen. She saw the vibrant green of the grass and the deep red of the roses around her. She looked up at the sky and saw the warm yellow sun shining brightly for the very first time. She lifted her hands before her, marveling at how pink and soft they looked in the golden light. A whisper escaped her lips as she realized the curse was broken, saying softly, "I am truly alive." Kale smiled with relief, stepping closer to gently say, "You are alive in the day, my love." Suddenly, the king and queen burst into the garden, their faces full of shock and desperate hope. They stopped in their tracks, weeping with joy to see their daughter standing safely in the sunlight. They rushed forward and embraced her, holding her tight, knowing that they would never lose her again. The ancient magic was gone, and the heavy curse that had haunted them was broken forever.
Under the bright noon sun, Ilara and Kale were married, surrounded with red roses and cheering people. And from that day on, Princess Ilara never missed a sunrise, living happily ever after. Did you love this magical story about the Princess of the Midnight Sun? If you did, please like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. We have many more magical stories waiting for you, so stay tuned for the next adventure.
Friends, do like and subscribe channel.